I'm Enrique de la Cruz, Professor Emeritus of Asian American Studies with Cal State Northridge. And I'm one of the co-authors of the Forbidden Book, along with Abe Ignacio, Jorge Manuel, and Helen Quirino. I do occasionally write nowadays for Asian Journal. I contribute op-eds to Asian Journal. This is a talk about the Forbidden Book, of which I'm one of the co-authors, along with Abe Ignacio, Helen Toribio, and Jorge Emanuel. And I guess as a background, the book, when we brought it up, was a collection of editorial cartoons that came out during the Philippine-American War. This is largely Abe's collection, with some contributions also from Jorge Manuel at that time. And in any case, these are really collections of cartoons from the editorial cartoons from the mainstream media during the Philippine-American War of 1898 to 1902. This war, by the way, was dubbed as the Philippine Insurrection, to suggest that it was an illegal revolt by Filipinos against legitimate American claims over the Philippines. The war was a major media preoccupation of the period. And given the lack of TV and things like that, printed media, one of the ways by which they would put together sound bites, so to speak, was to editorialize cartoon-wise on the issues of the day. And the cartoon images themselves are probably most revealing of how white America viewed Filipinos then. Essentially, the cartoonists of the day dusted off the visual lexicon that was used to dehumanize Blacks and applied them to Filipinos. The book received an outstanding award from the Gustavus Meyer Center for the Study of Bigotry and Human Rights. And we traveled to Atlanta to receive it. Many in the audience were African Americans. And one of them pulled me aside at the end of the ceremony and said, "I never imagined that Filipinos were as horribly depicted as Blacks. We have much in common." Well, what is the significance of the book today in light of protests against racism and police brutality led by the Black Lives Movement, Black Lives Matter? For Filipino Americans who continue to be apathetic to the BLM, this book is probably, I consider it an antidote to that Kool-Aid of white privilege which Filipinos have been consuming. As former American colonials, Filipinos have been drinking of this Kool-Aid via the American-style educational system that Americans established during the colonial regime in the Philippines. There are two elements to this Kool-Aid. One is the Orientalist ideology that Western or American civilization is superior. This has resulted in a baked-in inferiority complex among Filipinos about white America. The second ingredient to this Kool-Aid is this model minority. We hear that even though we are inferior to whites, we belong to the model minority, who are able to rise above their oppression and marginalization due to the work ethic and family values. An insidious subtext to this model minority idea is that Blacks too, even under a culture of white privilege, can rise above their marginalization if only they adopted the values that have enabled Asians to succeed. This is a myth, the model minority myth. Filipinos readily subscribe to it due to that inferiority complex. To create a song phrase, from Hamilton, it's good to hear that while we may not be as good as whites, there are actually some Americans who are inferior to us. To subscribe to this myth is self-delusion, and the images in the Forbidden Book demonstrate how white supremacists really think of Filipinos. But there is another message in the racialized depiction of Filipinos in the Forbidden Book. We, Filipinos, have a brotherhood with African Americans that dates back from the Philippine-American War. We were dehumanized like them by white supremacists. But even more significant, African-American soldiers defected to fight with Filipinos against American imperialism. David Fagan of the 24th Regiment of the U.S. Army is one such soldier, and there are many others. Fagan's his heroic exploit with Filipinos even drew the notice of the New York Times, and there were a few articles around that time that was written about him. In short, David Fagan was our General Lafayette during our war against American imperialism. We need to pay this utang ng loob forward by supporting DLN. And in closing, I should just simply suggest that there are many, many other stories that can be teased out of the editorial cartoons in the video. And a good exercise is to focus on one or two images and to construct the story behind.